everyone.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Hoppy Hour with Bob and Jimmy. I'm Bob.
And I am Jimmy.
And we have two special guests with us today, friends of ours from up north who came down to visit from Cask 529. It's Shona and Bryan. So welcome,
Hello,
guys.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you,
for having
guys.
us.
We're glad you could be here. Hey, we wanted to change the format a little bit today. Normally, we're talking about Wilmington area craft brewing, but since you guys are here and your show centers around bourbons and whiskeys, we wanted to talk about bourbon barrel aged and whiskey barrel aged stouts and beers and ales that are available out in the public right now. But unfortunately, although there are several breweries in town, Jim,
Yes.
who are planning on or actually have barrels aging right now.
Already. Be about a year before they come out.
It'll be a
with
year before it's ready. So we don't have anything local, but we have some great beers that if you're interested in the bourbon barrel aged beers, some of the ones that we have are some of the top beers available to you today in your local grocery store or wherever you shop for your beer. And bourbon barrel aged beer, Jim, it's fairly new. It started out, what, in the 90s?
I think it's in the 90s, early 90s. 92, I believe, was when it first started. And because consumers like the bold taste that this barrel aging gives the beer, that's why everyone likes it. And we extract, the flavors are extracted from the barrels that have been aging either bourbon or rye whiskey, and in oak barrels, and that adds a lot of the oak adds a lot of flavor to it. Also, you get some cinnamon, spicy clove flavors from it, and it's just a very drinkable beer once you do that. I think you know the story when they started in '92.
Well, I do know the story. It was a couple of gentlemen from Jim Beam and Goose Island. As a matter of fact, it was the head brewmaster from Goose Island who had gone to a dinner and happened to be sitting next to the grandson of Jim Beam and who was their master distiller at the time. And he was talking about what they were doing with their old barrels and using them to put iced tea in to get a bourbon flavored tea by just aging it in those barrels. And something hit a spark.
It clicked.
And it clicked. And Greg Hall, who's the master brewer, went back and did their first bourbon barrel aged beer. And it's the rest is kind of history. There's a lot of it out there after that.
Yes.
And barrels, okay. Shona, there's a difference in the barrels that are available out there now. Some of them are rye, and some are bourbon. What's basically the difference?
So a rye whiskey is composed of at least 51% rye in its mash bill. And so pretty much rye is the heaviest grain that they use in the mash bill, where bourbon has to be made in the USA, and it is composed of at least 51% corn. And so with a rye whiskey, you're going to get more of a spice, where bourbon, the corn brings out more of the sweetness and stuff. Now, a bourbon has to be also aged in a new oak charred barrel, where a whiskey has to be aged in a barrel.
In a barrel.
So,
okay. So now with bourbon, they can only use those barrels once. Is that the same with whiskey and rye?
Not with whiskey and rye. However, a bourbon can only be finished in a charred oak barrel. However, a bourbon can be finished in another barrel later on in its life, but the first 4 years it has to be in that oak barrel, that charred oak barrel.
Right. And Bryan, I know there's a difference between charring and toasting of the barrels.
Yeah, there is. Char, basically, the heavier the char is, the heaviest char is what they call an alligator char. Okay, so if you think about an alligator and the look you have on its back, That's basically what you get inside of a barrel, and that's the most amount of char you're going to get. I'm going to let Shona speak to the other.
Yeah, so there's different char levels on a barrel, and some distillers will disclose which char they use, because not only may they use different yeast or whatever, but different char levels bring out a different flavor. So if and I don't want to speak wrong, but if a really charred barrel could bring out more of the caramels and stuff like that in it, where if it's just a lightly toasted barrel, it's just going to give you some more, just the slight taste of the char and like more of the oak presence.
So, and more subtle flavors
Yeah,
in,
more
much
subtle.
more,
in the
much more
toasted
oak.
barrel. Okay,
Yes.
all right, that makes
You
sense
guys
then.
seem to have a lot of experience. How did you guys get started in this?
Well, we like to drink just like you,
I know
Jimmy.
you do.
Yeah.
I realize that. Yeah, tell us about how you got started in your.
So I'll take this a little bit. I own a woodworking business, and Shona has a 9 to 5. And what we found was I would work in the shop all day. Shona would go to her 9 to 5, come home, and come out to the shop. And we might be in the shop until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And truly the only way we ever took a break is if we were to go out of town. If we stayed at home, we worked. That's all we did. So I had been toying with the idea of starting a YouTube channel for woodworking. I mentioned it to Shona. She didn't really say anything one way or the other. Sometime later, months later, she said, okay, we're going to do the YouTube thing, but we're going to drink bourbon. I said, okay,
Brilliant.
There we
I
go.
am not going to argue with that.
A whiskey girl.
So the idea when we started it was if we could do 2 to 3 shows a week, that was 2 to 3 nights a week we weren't working. We'd sit down, we'd pour ourselves a drink, we'd talk about it on camera, what we liked, what we don't like. And it was kind of twofold good for us, Jimmy, because not only did we get to have that drink, I got to start building the collection.
And we got to learn a lot. I love to research, and so I go in spurts and I do these daily facts on whiskey and bourbon.
Right.
So I'm looking up all kinds of things, and that's just helped us both learn more and more about it.
Yep.
Became a more fun couple.
It did, yeah.
Well, the name of their YouTube channel is Cask 529,
Yes.
and we will have a link in the description down below. So make sure that you check it out.
Thanks,
A
Bob.
lot of things out there.
You know, they were the inspiration for us doing this.
They were the inspiration, big time. I mean, I got invited to do sitting on one of their shows, and after that, it was like Jimmy and I were talking, and I said, "Hey, you know what? We could do this with beer."
And I had to say, I apologize a billion times, because unlike Bob, who is an expert at setting up the equipment, we were not at that time. And so our microphones were not working for that show, but we drank some really good tequilas.
We did drink some really good tequila that day.
Fabulous.
But so hopefully we'll get to redo that sometime
Yes.
down the road. Anyhow, today, as I said, we have 6 really interesting bourbon barrel ales. And since the experts are here, Jim and I are not actually going to be doing the tasting today.
We're just going to drink.
We're just going to drink. Yeah, we just have our beers right here. And but we're going to talk about the beer, and then we're going to let Shona and Bryan taste the beer, and then we will let them tell us what they're experiencing.
And this first one is the Bourbon Barrel Quad from Boulevard Brewing.
Now, it's based loosely on their smokestack series, okay, which is an Abbey-style quadruple. So it's pretty heavy, and it's got an ABV at 12.2%. The IBUs are 26. And here's a new one for you this week, the EBC. Okay, this is the color, the European Brewers Convention. It's their way of measuring color. The darker, or the higher the number, the darker the beer. And this has a number 74 out of 100, and you can see it's pretty
It's
pretty
got
dark
a great,
beer.
yeah, it's got kind of a honey cinnamon.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
So we'll let you try that and see what you guys think. Now, they say that you're going to get bourbon, cherry, vanilla, dark fruit, oak and some Belgian yeast out of it. So that's going to be the aroma. Their malts are using caramel and toffee. I don't have any information on the hops, but it's
So as I'm reviewing this as I would a bourbon, it has a really nice nose. It's a really sweet nose.
Definitely
And you can,
sweet. Yeah.
I can smell some of the cherry, but I can also smell the malt. It's, to me, the nose is very malt forward on this one.
On the palate, I get very cherry forward. Really, I get a lot of cherry.
Now, did you say the IBV on this
12.
ABV?
Yeah,
12.
12.2. 12.2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty stiff drink there.
This is really good.
As,
It's really good.
as Jimmy would say,
That's a drinkable
that's
beer.
a drinkable beer.
Yeah.
That really is.
Hey,
It's sweet, but you're picking up hints of the bourbon. I can taste a little bit of the oak, but it is very cherry. You're getting that fruitiness of the cherry in there.
I feel like you've got a real light, some of the char in there also. It's pretty noticeable. The cherry for me is the most prominent.
Yeah, very good.
Well, again, from Boulevard Brewery, and it is
12.2?
12.2%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only 26 IBUs.
Yep. Now we've got another one from Boulevard. Now we're going to switch gears here a little bit, get out of the bourbon barrels and jump into the rye.
Ooh.
Okay,
some
this is their
spice.
rye on rye whiskey barrel aged beer, and we're shooting outside today. As you may have noticed, a little difference on the set due to the fact that
Beautiful
we couldn't
day.
it's a beautiful day in Connecticut.
In Connecticut. Woo.
It's a beautiful day here in North Carolina, and plus the fact we didn't think we could all get behind the bar in the He House. But this is a whiskey barrel aged ale.
Rye whiskey barrel aged.
It's a celebration of spicy rye malt and rye whiskey. It has pours pretty deep amber, again like the other. It's a darker beer, but not. It says the EBCs on this are only
Yep,
about
it's a little bit
58.
darker.
Yes. quite a bit dark.
IBUs are 33, so you might get a little more hop in this one, I think. And but the aroma is supposed to be toffee and distinct spicy rye whiskey with this.
So the nose is heavy on the toffee.
Okay.
Honestly, that's really all I'm picking up on the nose is the toffee.
Okay. Again, this is another heavy beer, 12.2%.
Wow.
Another sweet,
Yeah, very sweet.
taste the toffee, but as it finishes, I'm getting a little bit of that spice.
Okay.
It's finishing with not a heavy spice. It's a very light, just pleasant spice on your tongue.
Yeah, it's like a real light pepper, I'd say, on the finish.
Really sweet though, just like that one. Both very good. Do we, besides the finish on these, and I'm sorry if you said this, besides how these were finished, which barrel they were finished in, is it pretty much the same beer?
Yes, well, similar.
Okay.
It's a similar beer, yes. So,
Wow, I can't tell you which one I like better. They're both good.
yeah.
I think they are both good, and I would drink them both, as I know I've heard Jimmy say that before.
Yeah.
I think the first would be my preference, but if you poured me the rye, I'm not going to let it sit.
They're both drinkable. Is that
They're-
what
They're
you're saying?
drinkable.
They're
Jimmy.
drinkable.
They are
In
drinkable.
that case, I'm going to have a
Good.
drink.
And I think I may like the rye one a little bit better because I like that little bit of spice at the end.
And if you watch our show, that's Shauna's note. That's
Yep.
what she
I like
likes.
yeah.
Well, we've got another beer coming up. This one's from a brewery in Lexington, Kentucky. This is one of the. This is probably one of the better known bourbon barrel ales. It has it in the name, as a matter of fact. It's Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale from Lexington Brewery, and it is an Irish red ale. Okay, so and the alcohol is a little lower on this. It's going to be about an 8.2. Still pretty stiff, but And it has tasting notes should be toffee, oak, vanilla, and caramel in this. It's a little, pours a little clearer, not quite as dark.
Yeah, that's a nice color. And
Yep.
this is
Yep.
actually one of our favorites.
It is.
You've drank this before?
Yeah,
Yes, we
we've had the
have.
pleasure where we stay at when we go to Lexington. They actually usually have this on draft.
Oh,
And-
okay.
A draft beer is
Yes. In fact,
Well,
I'm drinking.
they say it can be poured as an aperitif or a after dinner drink, either one. It's
so on this one. I'm picking up more of the barrel on the nose, the oak essence, but also a lot of the malt from the beer.
The malt is heavy to me.
mhm.
I get the malt.
Well balanced. You're picking up more of a beer flavor on this, a maltier beer flavor, but then it rounds out in your palate with some oak, maybe a touch of the hops, like a little bit of a citrus at the end, but really good, really enjoyable.
Very good.
Okay. Well, the next one comes from the same place, actually, from Lexington. I don't know if you've come across this while you were there.
The
This
vanilla.
is their vanilla barrel cream ale. Okay, a little bit of a twist on the beer itself. It's a cold conditioned beer. Okay, it's brewed with a hint of flaked corn, bourbon vanilla beans, and it's aged in freshly decanted bourbon barrels for approximately 6 weeks.
And that's a low ABV on that.
It's a
about
lower, much
5.5.
lower ABV. This is a 5.5. Yep, 5.5 cream ale. And now Lexington Brewing says that they only distribute this in a few states, Alaska being one of them. I don't know how that happened, because then they go to DC, Kentucky, Ohio, and Rhode Island. So we make it from one end of the country to the other in a couple of interspersed. But we found this here in North Carolina at one of the local stores here, so you can find it.
Vanilla. I mean, it's really obviously in the name.
In the
and
name
it's-
is
In the
vanilla.
name, yeah.
and that's really what I get on the nose as well.
I get that same malt that we got out of the last one. I got the malt. You didn't so much get the malt.
To me, I really enjoy this. It tastes like a vanilla popsicle, like ice cream cone type,
Okay.
like almost like an orange push up, only it's like a vanilla sherbet.
Vanilla push-up.
Vanilla push
Vanilla
up.
push-up?
There
Oh,
you
yeah.
go.
It's really delicious. It's
Okay.
good.
I want to do a little bit of house cleaning here. I think we ought to set these
Okay.
in the order that we're drinking them, or that they're drinking them.
But this is definitely a drinkable beer.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Good.
I hope you can get it in your state.
Drinkable.
All right, next in line, we have one of my favorites. It's from the Dragon's Milk Brewery.
Ooh.
And Dragon's Milk was actually in the old days was the brew that they offered to travelers once they got where they were coming from to the castle, and they would offer them a stout drink called Dragon's Milk. This is not their stout. This is their Crimson Keep, which is a red ale. It's only left in bourbon barrels for about a month, but deep in their cellar. Okay, and it's got a red color to it. Has notes of toffee and stone fruits and oak, with a pleasant dry finish, I'm told. So.
And that's 11 ABV.
Yes, it is. It's 11% alcohol. but it's, still, like I said, as a red ale, it's.
I'm getting apple cider on the nose.
Apple
I know you didn't even describe anything
No,
like that, but
well, fruits, stone fruits,
Stone.
you might get some of that. They're saying a dry finish. Is that?
Definitely a drier finish
it's
than the others, yes.
this is really good too. Wow.
We only
You
have
guys
good beers on our
Yeah,
show.
that's all we do.
You guys picked one heck
We
of a
just,
lineup.
we just do drinkable beers here. That's
Yeah.
it.
I think, the other ones I've picked up a little bit of the bourbon, but with the oak and stuff. But this one, I would say, has the most bourbon flavor for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't tried.
I would agree with that. I think it goes along with the dryness that
Yeah. And I think that's what it, because the other
Yeah.
ones are a little bit sweeter, where this one isn't. And I'm picking up more of that bourbon flavor. Really good.
I gotta try that one. I like that.
Yeah.
Good.
it's drinkable, Jimmy.
It's drinkable. Okay.
I did want to say on a side note, okay, that Dragon's Milk is also a brewery.
Is it?
Or,
Yes.
Yeah, or a distillery.
Distillery.
I'm sorry. Is also a distillery. They distill their own bourbon and make several different, not just styles of bourbon, but also the different flavor. They do some flavored bourbons as well. So they run the gambit.
And Bob, we talked about that this morning. They were distillery first, correct?
Yes, correct.
Which made sense because the brewery
Yeah, they ended up with the barrels.
was an outlet for their barrels.
For their barrels, right?
Yep.
So,
Very good.
all right, good. Well, our final one had an interesting name. This comes from one of my favorite breweries in the country, Founders.
out
Founders
of
makes
Michigan,
some
Michigan.
really great beers. They're out of Michigan. This particular beer is their flagship bourbon barrel aged beer, and it's an Imperial Stout. So, but it has
Oh wow!
it has a chocolate cherry. It's a very dark beer as a stout.
Shauna got excited.
I'm not sure if I want to give him any of this.
It's
you will.
supposed to have a rich sweetness, and they even advertise it as something that you should share with your loved one. So
And that is the darkest beer that we have.
yes, but it's a Imperial Stout, of course, barrel aged, and it's now it's only available in February. So
Oh, really?
Is that
yes,
right?
yeah. I mean, they bring it out in February, and that's the only time they brew it. Probably for
Very,
Valentine's Day, but I'm just
I love the color.
Don't
I do too.
quote me
Yeah.
on that. But it's got the hops in it are Nugget and Willimantic, which are two of my favorites. Have some so you're probably going to get a more hop flavor out of it.
on the nose, it's very chocolatey, but
Yeah.
it's very nutty too.
Yeah.
You're picking up that nutty.
Yeah. Well, the malts.
Malts are oak and,
Yeah.
and
Oats.
chocolate,
Yeah. Oats and,
Oh, yeah.
and chocolate and roasted barley.
roasted barley. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Really sweet.
It's really sweet.
It is very sweet, chocolatey.
yeah, it's 11.6%. IBUs are 46.
Yeah, you can definitely taste the oats.
Yeah.
Along with the chocolate. I'm searching for that cherry note, and I think it's there. Might take me to the bottom of the glass. I'm trying.
She'll never quit looking for the cherry note.
Keep looking. You'll
Keep
find
looking.
it.
She
You'll
will
find
find
it.
it.
It's there. It really is there. This is really, really good. However, it is sweeter, just like I think the second and third one that we had here, but really, really good. You're picking up to the oak on the finish. It's really good.
Now, what was the ABV on that one?
The ABV on this one is 11.6.
11.4, 11.6.
Yeah. 11.6.
That chocolate note just stays with you though.
Yeah.
And it's not overbearing like a syrupy chocolate. It's a real nice cocoa
Yeah.
type chocolate. It's
one-
good.
That one get you in trouble
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah.
fast.
Okay.
I
Oh,
didn't-
11.6. What do you expect?
Right. Well, plus it's so drinkable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
These are all
Drinkable.
drinkable.
Yeah, these are all. This is fabulous.
This is like a treat, like a dessert plate.
Kind of like a buffet.
Well, that's unfortunately the end of the buffet. That's all we
but
have.
it's not, Bob.
But it's
But it's
not.
you got a lot
Yeah,
more
I
to go
know.
here.
But I do want to take a moment here to thank you both for joining us today and
Thanks for
putting up
having
with
us.
Thanks for having
with
us.
everything that went on into actually getting this started.
We've
and-
learned a lot.
No,
and-
honestly.
No,
And-
we learned a lot from you guys. Yeah.
And we hope you'll come back. Okay.
Absolutely.
We
Absolutely.
hope
sure will.
you'll tune in to Cask 529, and we hope that you learned something today and that you enjoyed our banter as usual.
And tune in to us as well.
Yes.
Yes, and we'll be back next time. Until then, that's Jimmy.
And that's Bob.
We'll see you.